Today we're doing a transmission drain and fill. I'll show you guys how I do it. So we're raising up the car from the rear differential, and then I put two jack stands kind of right over here on this metal area of the rear, just in front of the rear tire. The front is on rhino ramps with little wood planks to get up there. We're gonna get underneath the car, right where the drain plug or the fill plug is. I took out this heat shield here. This one is on the passenger side. I took this out. It had 3 T30 bolts, and the space in there is really tight. So I used a really small ratchet like this to be able to take them out. 3 T30 bolts, get out that heat shield, and then unclip the O2 sensor wires right over there. So this is why you loosen the fill plug first, because this one stripped on me and I wasn't really even like hammering hard or anything. It just stripped. It was on there really tight, so I used a screw extractor to get it out, and luckily I have a spare one extra ready to go. But loosen the fill plug first, and then you can loosen the drain plug and drain out your transmission fluid. At this point, you want to remove all of these 13 T40 bolts. They're all around the transmission oil pan. These two in the back, you'll have to kind of move this wire out of the way. It's held in by some clips. It's draining out now. I kind of dropped the pan just slowly and kind of letting it drip into my oil drip area, or oil catch area. But so far so good. Here's a look at the oil after 68,000 miles. Still a pretty good brown goldish color, nothing black. No metal shavings, just a lot of air bubbles. We drained about maybe 5.5 quarts is from what it looks like here. Here's the new oil pan and filter. There's the magnets right there. This is the suction tube. You remove this plastic piece and then lubricate the O-ring with some oil. And then we're gonna fit this back up and put the bolts in and start tightening. So I'm just gonna clean up these surfaces that's mating to the gasket before I reinstall it. So this is the torque pattern, or the pattern for the 13 bolts. And each bolt is going to be torqued to 10 Newton meters or 8 foot-pounds is what I remember. So I'm going to use this Harbor Freight tool transfer pump to get about 6 liters or quarts up into the transmission, and I'm going to be filling it through that drain hole that we just took out. Not the drain hole, the fill hole, sorry. And we're going to just do a cold fill first. So we're going to start off with putting it in through the fill hole until it starts to drip out, and then once it starts dripping out, we can start the car, let the transmission heat up to about 80 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and nothing over that, and that's our chance to fill in a little more while the engine is running and the transmission is warming up. So once that starts sweeping out slowly, then you can put your fill plug back on and tighten it to spec. But the main thing you're looking for is keeping the temperature range within 80 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and then filling in the transmission fluid until it starts weeping out of the drain hole or the fill hole. So there's my tube right into the drain hole over there, or the fill hole, and here's my pump, and there's my bottle of transmission fluid, ZF Lifeguard 8. So now it's starting to drain out or drip out a little bit. I only did 2.5 quarts, so I'm gonna start the car now and then shift through all the gears for about 5 seconds in each gear, let the transmission warm up to about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and then start filling again. And I have until 120 degrees Fahrenheit to fill before I have to shut it off and let it cool down and start over. So I'm using a Bluetooth OBD2 adapter and Torque Pro to check my transmission temperature right there. So I'll shift through the gears, kind of warm up the transmission a little bit, and then I will go ahead and fill up a little more. So I just finished filling up there, and I'm just reinstalling the heat shield with a T30 screw. I guess the main takeaway for that part is making sure that you're within that 120 degree and 80 degree range when you're filling up through the fill hole, which is now hidden. It's kind of tricky to do because you have to be fast because the transmission heats up quickly. So if you go over, you have to turn off the car, let it cool off, and then turn it on again, retry, cycle through all the gears, and then fill until it's a slight drip coming out. It took me about 2 attempts to get it right, but I have a slight drip coming out, and then I just put the fill plug in, tightened it, and now I put everything back together and I'm ready to drive it and see how it works. But yeah, that's the transmission oil change on a Jaguar F-Type. Thanks for watching.